Now to the Miami court case against former President Donald Trump. The judge overseeing the case already issuing her first order, calling for the parties involved to get the ball rolling, to get their security clearances in order to look at the classified documents actually involved in this case. Joining us now for more on this is former Trump attorney and executive director at the American Center for Law and Justice, Jordan Sekulow, back with us. Jordan, good morning. Happy Friday. Good to see you again.
Good morning, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Jordan, Donald Trump being accused of illegally taking 31 documents. So we're not talking about a ton of material here when he left the Oval Office. And it looks like what was actually in those documents is going to be part of this trial. What do you make of this move by Judge Aileen Cannon and looking at every individual documents? What does that mean for the case?
So I think at the early stages of a case, what the judge's role is to do is to, like you said, get the ball rolling. And then it will really be up to, in President Trump, the accused, which has a lot of rights in a criminal trial, to decide really how quick they want that ball to be rolling. So, of course, you want your attorneys to go ahead and get any kind of clearance they need to review these documents, because that's going to be extremely important in discovery. Whether you go for a speedy trial, which would be unusual in a lot of these criminal decisions, you wouldn't necessarily want to do that because there's so many novel issues here, just new issues of law that have never been decided, that could go up on appeal. But what she is allowing President Trump to do by this order is saying, I'm going to keep this on track. I'm going to keep it moving as fast as I can. And then it will be up to you and your defense attorneys to determine how quick this moves.
Okay, so The Hill reported yesterday, talking about a report in the Washington Post, that President Trump apparently was not interested in his lawyers attempting to settle the documents case when they had a chance. Do you buy that?
Well, I think that there's a difference between whether it was like a plea bargain or settle. I think the big issue here was, why did they stop the negotiations over the documents? And Rob, if they really had a reason, if they thought really in those negotiations there was some document that they had to get back as soon as possible, DOJ has a civil division. They could have filed to get the document back without bringing criminal charges against the former president. So I think that there were ways to do this. That wouldn't be, to me, settling. So when I hear that in the Washington Post, I think a lot more like, would you take a plea deal or not? And I think that, again, President Trump knows that kind of issue, then they're going to say he's guilty, and they're going to use it against him politically, even though he's done nothing wrong.
Jordan, couple quick ones. Would a judge actually, in this case right now, it's Trump appointee Aileen Cannon, would a judge actually put a former president in prison for something like this if he's found guilty on one of the counts or all counts?
I do not believe President Trump will ever be behind bars.
Okay, good answer. Trump's legal team, and this is important, if it does go to trial, we're talking about 12 jurors here. Could we see a hung jury? Because all they've got to do is convince one of those 12 jurors reasonable doubt exists in this case.
Absolutely, because this charge has never really been utilized. When we see classified documents, we talk about leakers. That's easy to describe to a jury. It's easy to explain. A president who doesn't have the same rules around them when it involves classified documents, it's the only person in the country that doesn't have those rules around them. I mean, Rob, you could be in a room, we could have no clearance. If a president is there and someone rushes in with a classified document, there's two things that could happen. They could ask you to leave, but the president could say, Rob can be here right now. And only the president can do that. So how do you explain then to a jury that this document makes him a criminal, this one doesn't make him a criminal, and that's how you get to a hung jury situation?
Interesting point. Okay, the Post reporting yesterday that Donald Trump now has personal interest in ensuring that a Republican wins next year's election if it's not him, in a way that he might not have before the indictment. Basically, they're saying that if Trump's not the nominee, he's got to get behind the nominee because he's going to want a pardon. The Washington Post taking a lot of leaps there. That's nothing new for them. What do you make of that?
I think, listen, most of the other candidates that are even polling statistically have heavily criticized how Donald Trump has been treated. So if they're just doing that for political purposes, and one day they actually did get elected to president, somehow beat him in the primary and made their way to the Oval Office, how could they have said all those horrendous things about how wrong this prosecution was and not right the wrong?
Okay, Jordan, quickly want to get to this soundbite. This is MSNBC yesterday morning. Take a listen.
On the day of the indictment, it drives Joe crazy, but I watch Fox News and Newsmax and other outlets to see what they're saying. And when the indictment came out, especially on Fox, it was like, ooh, this is serious. You had a lot of analysts and legal analysts, people who Turley, saying this is really bad. But as the hours...
So, Jordan, and that's been every time with Donald Trump, whether it was impeachment, whether it was Alvin Bragg, whether it's Georgia, it's always so serious it's going to take down Donald Trump. We've got about 10 seconds. Is this case any different from the others?
It's different because it's a federal court, and you've got the special counsel now going after you as a former president. It's I'd say, again, a little more serious than Alvin Bragg's case. But at the end of the day, President Trump is going to be vindicated.
Okay. Jordan Sekulow, have a great weekend. Appreciate you being with us this morning. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
All right.